Hello and welcome back to Torchlight 2. We are still in the temple steps and still working on the Protect the Guardian and War Beast Armory quests. And since I didn't hear anything to the contrary, I will assume you don't mind the full exploration, and I will continue to do just that. As always, if this becomes boring, problematic, lame to you, just drop me a line in the comments down below and I will probably just go with the majority decision. Okay, slightly hectic here, but hey, we got a staff and killed our boss. Brilliant. When lots of enemies are on the screen, there is a noticeable decrease in performance, but as I said before, it's largely because the game is basically a single core game, and so there are severe limitations on the hardware for this game, sadly. It's it's one of the major points of criticism, I guess, on the technical front, that they did not make this a multi-core game. Though, of course, anyone who's ever done multi-core processing or multi-threaded programming will tell you that it's a lot more effort to optimize your programs to run on multiple cores. Though, of course, the increase in speed is really important. Simply because, especially in modern computing, it's really... especially in high-end applications, it's not that much effort to include an additional CPU, for example, but increasing the CPU frequency is much more problematic. So you might on occasion choose an algorithm for a problem that's actually slower than an alternative, but because it can be parallelized much more easily, it might still be the better choice. And as I said, especially when you have stuff like cloud computing, it becomes incredibly important because cloud computing, maybe it's a term that means something else. What I mean by it in this instance is it's something that a lot of free programs do that to sort of finance themselves. They say basically the CPU, while you're running this program, the CPU load that you're not using yourself, so the idle time, basically the time that your computer isn't doing anything, that could get used to participate in some sort of huge trap, in some sort of big calculation thing. One of the common ones would be, for example, to calculate stuff about proteins to possibly produce new medications. That requires huge amounts of computing time, just because a ton of calculations have to be done. And buying computing time, especially this amount of computing time on supercomputers, is very, very expensive. So the approach is to basically say, okay, you're using this program for free, and mostly you can disable it But if you do enable it, it's basically saying, okay, so while you're not using your computer, we are using it. And the nature of that means that you have tons of, well, assuming you have a large enough network of people which enable that option, you have a lot of computers, but usually only a very limited amount of computing power per machine. Because usually people will only will not give access to the full CPU. They might only give you access to a single core, or they might limit the frequency that you can use, stuff like that. And so for that, obviously, parallel programming is ridiculously important, because it allows you to spread whatever load you are trying to bear, whatever you're trying to calculate, on numerous computers. And so, in that case, it becomes faster to have 100 computers doing one calculation each, than having one computer do 50 calculations. I'll show you the dynamite on another fishing hole. This is a secret fishing hole, which means I only get 3 attempts, and they have the obviously highest drop rate for improved loot. So silly me. Highest chance at getting improved fish and rarer items. But yeah, so basically, if you have one algorithm that takes 50 calculations to solve the problem, that would actually be worse than having an algorithm that takes 100, but that can be parallelized. So, interesting topic. And if you are doing programming, you should always, especially in these days, you should always try to make your programs capable of running on multiple cores. At least you should know how to do it. Oh, Face Beast. You know these from the first game, and they are essentially the same, but the face portal areas have become a lot more interesting. So let's try this one out. Oh, this one. You might remember from the first game, face portals basically put you into new areas. But the gameplay was exactly the same. In these we have actually different challenges. In this case we have some nethermancers that we can kill. And now we need to poison the spider nests. The issue not being so much that the spiders are very dangerous, but that clicking on the poison bottle with all these spiders around can be complicated. As you can see. And in these situations, sometimes you really wish you had not ditched your AoE skills. What you can do, of course, is run away. And then hope to actually have enough breathing space on your way back. And I'm pretty sure they don't spawn indefinitely, but a lot of them do spawn. Brilliant. Okay, let's poison this one. Now this one. And this is what I mean by being a little more interesting. It's not just fighting. Obviously, because of the gameplay, you do always, or almost always, end up fighting enemies. But the settings are more interesting, and there's more variety to the fighting itself. Okay, get some distance again. This is, as I said, a lot easier if you have an AoE option in your build. Sadly, I do not, so... But this should be the last nest. Okay, now the big spiders come out because they're angry we poisoned them. Which isn't that ironic, because usually it's spiders that are considered the poisonous ones. And as a reward we get lots of gold. Okay, my inventory is full. I don't want a great axe. Don't want a great hammer. For the moment I'm sticking with my don't need a shield. I'm sticking with my ghastly set. I'll end up changing it eventually, but for now I'm, as I said, quite happy with it. I'll actually keep this set piece. Set pieces have some advantages in this game. I might as well get rid of my knuckles. And might as well identify the staff. Meh, not too bad. Okay. Now here we have tons of gold and a golden chest. Okay, and a portal to the surface. Obviously that takes us back to wherever we entered the portal. And there are lots and lots of different phased beast rooms. I think by now I've probably seen most of them in some way, but I'm not actually certain that I have. I won't use dynamite on this one again because it's a 3-attempt one, and I do want to maximize my fish here. So I'll try to be careful and not mess up. Okay, last one. Good. This time I did not mess up. I got a training collar, which I'll definitely give to my pet. Basically a pet can have 2 tags and 1 collar. Essentially that's similar to rings and amulets in the necklaces, rather, in the character, but as opposed to the first game, they are now actually separate items, so when you find a good ring, you no longer have to decide if you want to give it to yourself or your pet. Even though, of course, when I was doing the first... when I played the first one, I did not have to make that choice either, because I didn't focus on my pet, so my pet was useless. Of course, there are builds which were different, where the pet actually dealt lots of damage, so for those builds it would have been really nice to have bonuses for your pet. And as I said, I will try to explore all of the world, such as this little corner down here. Pagodas are nice because you can get a certain scroll from them, which is really nice, but does not sound like a trap. Very good. There is basically a scroll which you can use. It's a one-time use kind of thing. And what it does is it enables you to and I'm wondering whether this in the middle here is a world generation glitch. I think it might be. Well, it's not really a glitch, it's just an area that I can't actually access. Or maybe I'll find a teleporter somewhere. I doubt it though. I think it might just be a world generation gone not quite as planned.
Okay. I was talking about something, but I forgot. I think something about pet builds, maybe, I don't know. And you can do pet builds again in this game. I'm not a big fan of them myself. Never quite saw them as very powerful, but mostly it means you're stacking up tons of increased pet damage, pet health, and pet speed. Okay, these two bosses were guaranteed spawns, and they did spawn because of the Warbeast Armory quest. Well, actually they spawn all the time, but they protected the schematics trunk. Okay, and as you can see right now, I have my Fury activated, but I haven't actually hit an enemy with it active yet. That's something I was talking about in an earlier episode. I now have the speed boost permanently. Until I hit an enemy, then the 8-second counter starts. Obviously, I'm going to fight because that's what I do, but if I was interested in just running through, I could have now used that opportunity to have the unconditional large boost to my movement speed, which is nice, obviously, if all you want to do is run. Generally, though, it's not particularly useful. Okay. Up here we have some sort of grave thing. It's kind of similar to... We had a similar event before, the Lich Grave, I think it was called, and somewhere else as well. We had something, basically waves of enemies spawning, and eventually something big-ish, usually a boss will spawn and then you get loot. Just a nice little thing they added to make the world a little more interesting. Here we have Spinebreaker. Not an issue. And sadly we see another thing that occasionally happens. It's an enemy who's stuck behind a piece of world, I guess, piece of terrain, and I can't get to him. Not really much to be done about it. If I had ranged options, of course, I could use those. I don't. Actually, let me see if I can, because technically I do have a ranged option. Just not certain I can actually reach him from anywhere. Yes! Haha! Of course, I'm not actually going to run with a bow. It's just, if you have a ranged option, these are not really anything to be concerned about, because you do have the way to kill them. Now I'll just keep butchering here. Let's see, okay. I don't want to run too much overtime, basically. Okay. Wow. The blood effect really got out of hand there.
Okay, would you please stay up here? Very nice. The reds, as you could see, they can jump down certain parts of the landscape, and that can lead to annoying situations where you try to run all the way around to find them, only to detect that when you actually reach them, they've already jumped down and you can run back. Okay, here we have another one of these event things, but let me just kill these surrounding enemies first. Not that the rats are particularly dangerous, but well. I also had another idea that I would love to have some feedback on. I was thinking there's 4 classes in the game and 4 acts, so what I might do is I might change which class I'm playing for each of the acts. So you basically have from now until the end of Act 1, which is still a long way to go, so don't worry too much. But basically you have until then to decide whether you would like that. It means less chance to identify with the character I'm playing. Which, I don't know, depending on your attitude you might like. But more chance to see some versatility. Again, let me know if that's something you would like to see. I could then also try to maybe switch up the difficulty depending on how it goes. And I think I gained a skill point from being... yeah, I'm now tolerated. Okay, shred armor. Definitely shred armor. Okay, and I think that's the area pretty much explored. I might leave out like tiny little corners. I'm not going to run halfway across the world just to discover one single corner. Okay, my pet is back now. So let's shove it full of stuff again. Nope. Ghastly shoulders still take precedence. Okay, Grell. Nice. Now I've actually 2 pieces of his set. Nah, I don't need the extra vitality. I think I'll take this one actually. It's more of a rounded elemental resistance thing. This one only does fire, which the other one's maybe slightly better, but as I said, I prefer the more well-rounded approach. This one has a socket and gives more focus, but I don't really need focus. Some knuckles. Nah. And as before, I'm keeping my embers for now. However, one thing that they took out is that you can no longer combine embers into higher grade ones. So I can't take 2 level 1 ember specs and turn them into an ember, whatever it is after that. I can still combine them to basically produce a higher quality, a different type of gem, but not actually a higher tier. I'll show you that in some more detail later on. But now we have reached the end of an episode. I hope you enjoyed, and as I said, please leave some feedback. Bye bye!